Hey, welcome back. Now we've got our first program under our belts and we're ready for bigger and better things. Now in this video, we're going to use the raylib library and we're going to make use of a function that will let us create a pop-up window that will show up on the screen with some text in the title bar. We're also going to learn about the C++ standard library and how that's different from external libraries that don't come built into the language. And finally, we're going to learn how to call functions that take multiple input parameters. So let's dive right in. So let's create our second C++ program. Try to remember how we can make a new source file. That's right, it's File, and then click on New File. Now we need to save this by going to File and Save As, and let's call this source file ax_game.cpp. That's right, we're going to be making a game. Go ahead and save this. Now we have our brand new source file. Now what does our program need straight away? Go ahead and type it in. That's right, it's the main function. See, you're already becoming a pro. So we type int main, parentheses, followed by the function body. Now that's great that we know how to print text to the terminal, but that's not the kind of game we want to make. Text-based games used to be cool, like decades ago. We want to make windows pop up with things that move. So that's why we're going to say goodbye to the old C standard I/O library and say hello to raylib. Let's include the raylib library now. At the top, I'm going to use the include directive and type raylib.h in double quotes. Whoa, wait, what? Double quotes? Where's the angle brackets? And what's this .h? Okay, let's talk about this. Whenever we include our libraries, there are two different kinds. The kind we include with angle brackets and the kind we include with double quotes. The libraries we include with angle brackets are special. These are written by the C++ gods. Actually, they were written by mortals, but they've been approved by a council of wise C++ wizards who have allowed them to be built into the language itself. This collection of sacred code is known as the C++ Standard Library. It's built into the language. But there are lots of libraries out there that don't come built in. We refer to them as external libraries. They have to be downloaded separately, and these are included using double quotes. When we wish to use part of a library, we have to include the appropriate header file. Header files have the file extension .h, and they contain information needed to use that part of the library. But headers from the standard library are so special that they get to go in angle brackets and we don't even need to type out the .h extension. So fancy. So anyway, raylib is not part of the C++ standard library. It's an external library. So it gets the double quotes and the .h extension. But that doesn't mean it's not super cool. Raylib contains lots of cool functions that let us do things like make windows that pop up to the screen. So let's give that a go. Here in main, we're going to call a function from the raylib library that initializes a window, and it's appropriately named initWindow. So let's type that, initWindow. Now this is one of those functions that requires input, and it takes multiple inputs. You see, functions can have more than one input parameter. To call a function that takes more than one input parameter, we put the input into the parentheses separated by commas. Commas are just as important in C++ as semicolons. Leaving out commas is all fun and games until someone's eating grandpa. The initWindow function takes three inputs: a width, a height, and a title. It uses the value that we pass in for the width as the width of the window in pixels. Likewise, it uses the value that we pass in for the height for the window's height in pixels. Now we pass in the title, and that becomes the text that we see on the title bar of the window. Now the width and the height have to be whole numbers, and the title has to be in double quotes, just like the input that we passed into the printf function. So let's call init window, and let's pass in 350 for the width and 200 for the height. For the title, go ahead and put your double quotes and use your own name. I'm going to say Stephen's window. Now don't you dare forget your semicolon. Now we can compile and run, but we're done messing around with the terminal. Instead, we can compile and run all in one go by clicking Run and Start Debugging. We'll explain what that word debugging means later. Go ahead and click Start Debugging and our code will compile and run. And our window popped up for a split second. Did you see it? You might have missed it. If you're the Flash, you saw this pop up for a brief moment, but then it disappeared. So what happened? Let's follow the flow of execution or order in which statements are carried out. First, our program starts at the top of the main function, where it encounters our function call init window. Init window works like magic, and our window pops up. This takes hardly any time at all. And the flow of execution continues past init window and comes down and reaches the end of the main function body. And the program terminates. The main function says, everything close up shop, and our raylib window gets wiped away. We'll learn in a future video how to keep the window open. So your challenge for this lecture is to play with the inputs to init window. Change the dimensions and see if you can notice the window as it pops up. That's okay if it's too fast for you to catch it. Pause the video and give this a try now. Okay, we're here in our program, and I'm going to change our height to 1200 and our width to 1350. So this should be a really big window. It's going to be hard to miss. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Run and Start Debugging. And there it was. It was a really big window, and it just popped up for a flash and then disappeared. Okay, I'll go ahead and put these back to their original values. Okay, so to summarize, we learned that there are two ways to include libraries. We have libraries that belong to the standard library, which come built into the language, and these are included with angle brackets. And we learned that there are external libraries. These don't come built into the language, and these have to be included with double quotes. We made a function call to init window, a function that takes multiple input parameters. And we learned that we pass multiple parameters into a function's parentheses as a comma-separated list. We made our pop-up window, but it disappeared right away. So in the videos to come, we're going to work on keeping that window open and displaying some interesting things inside of it.